finding life in Moto2 very difficult. He's down on the back row of the grid.
The race will go on after this. There will be a minute of silence at 1:45 local time before at the start of this broadcast that sadly he has lost his battle and has passed away. Our thoughts rider Jason de Pasquier. This is 22-year-old Rimini-born Marco Bezzecchi, the one for the Sky VR46 team, likewise for MV Agusta as well. Can they turn that around here today? Bezzecchi too. It looks like Raul Fernandez, who's second in the World Championship, and Sam Lowe's have the advantage, but you know that Remy Gardner will find podiums from the first 5 races, and the only one he was off the podium, he started pole and finished 4th. He's been outstanding so far. Matt, sorry to interrupt, I'm really interested in here is whether or not Raul Fernandez is in a proper fight. When he does most of his winning, he does it by bolt.
To that young man's bow though, Steve. I think any circumstance he's going to be ready for the fight. We've seen him already so far this year cope with rain falling on the screen and visor. He kept his cool, he kept his composure to take yet another pole position. Right alongside him on the front row of the grid, Elfmark VDS Racing rider, Britain Sam Lowe's.
Sorry, the 8th time in his career, 2nd time in Moto2. Pole position on his right. Back 21 laps of Moto2 action coming up here in Italy. Lights out, Moto2 here in Mugello. Wheel spin from Marco Bezzecchi, number 72, but it's the perfect start. 1-2, although Jorge Navarro has something to say about that. He's in 2nd.
That looked like Della Porta was in hot into the first appointment for him. Marco Bezzecchi, as Steve mentioned, really lit up that rear tyre. Off the line, smoke billowing off that Dunlop rear. He managed to...
After his brilliant effort in France a couple of weeks ago, the Liquimoli Intact rider is in
P4, instant. Not sure, Chantra, no sign that he's crashed out, so Della Porta, the man who's in the gravel, unfortunately, it's Remy Gardner, his teammate for company.
Looking back now then from Fernandez to 87, Remy Gardner hunting for that, fish his way through on Jorge Navarro. Behind Lowe's is Fabio Di Gianantonio, winner of course in Spain. Just cannot get any consistency going at the moment. He's out at turn 10.
Well, he's blown great podium chances in the last 2. Augusto Fernandez, it's another disaster for him here in Mugello. No points for the Spaniard.
Well, Remy Gardner
way too hot down there in San Donato. He was in wide. He's managed to just about keep it on the tarmac, but he was in up
to 4th. Di Gianantonio has also moved up 1 spot into 5th, so Navarro has dropped back into 6th. Then it's Bezzecchi, then Robert.
Tony Arbolino, the confidence he gained from that brilliant run last time out in Le Mans, well, he's carried all that on through here this experience, and they're mastering this magnificent circuit pretty well so far. The pair of them on the podium places early on.
He's seen already twice this season that Raul Fernandez can get into his rhythm and he can fly away out front. Lowe's looks like he's about ready to try and find his way through on Italian Arbolino. He can see the 2 Red Bull KTM.
Task passing Arbolino, despite his lack of experience in Moto2. Can Lowe's pick up the slipstream? And Fox does indeed make the move, and he makes it a clean one. He makes it stick just at the time he had to, really, because he could see
of this. Arbolino then 4th in France last time out, 4th here at this moment in time, just behind Arbolino then.
Yeah, he said last time out in Le Mans, Tony Arbolino, first time he's run at the sharp end of a Moto2 race, everything he learned, it was like gold. Surprise, Raul Fernandez clicked into some serious rhythm and a good early groove here. A 51.559 was just about it.
Also a good start for Bobier, he's up to 17th. Dixon got away well, he made up 9 places on the opening lap, but it's just fallen behind Hector Garth.
For him here at Biondetti 1 and 2 yesterday morning in FP3. The 34-year-old would have been pretty sore when he got out of...
From Sam Lowe's, he's bridged that gap well. We might well see a red helmet next to Sam Lowe's name as he comes across the line with a fastest lap of... Who's got the fastest lap of 51.2, Lorenzo Baldassari. We mentioned the colour schemes, one off. It's not worked for Balda.
Not right now for Arbolino. Lorenzo Baldassari, it's an unlucky turn 13 for him. He's not exactly... There'll be no repeat of those podium heroics today. Baldassari down and out.
So the 51.2 from Sam Lowe's and the Gianantonio at times have shown their spark, but these 3 look like
Gardner and Lowe's so far this year, but it feels very much that's the case, even though he's had a really good season, hasn't finished outside, certainly in 2020.
Live Championship as it stands would be Fernandez leading, of course. If he wins today, he would lead up to 7th now on the Petronas Sprinter Racing machine, ahead of Navarro, who's dropped from 3rd on the grid to 8th in this race. Then it's...
Yeah, Gartho, the last of the point scoring finishes, he's just taken that 15th spot from Canet. We're looking back now at Arbolino, who's just Sandinato.
These 3 Italian riders then, all battling it out right now.
Down at Sandinato.
Yeah, well, Navarro, unfortunately, just cannot get in. Actually, of the season for the Spanish rider.
Yeah, will extend his run without a top 6 to 9 Grand Prix now. Tyre just said no more. Fernandez then, that's the biggest advantage he's had over Gardner so far in this match. To keep tabs on Gardner himself, he's 7/10 further back in 3rd.
One rider who'll be kicking himself about where he... France, he was on for a top 6 finish, was the 5-time Moto America Superbike champion.
Yeah, 2 World Championships, so difficult to adjust after having been so long on superbikes in the successful Moto America series. A little bit more than he can chew, but no question, he's got the speed to be a regular top 10 runner in this Moto2 field.
On the last 5.2 kilometre circuit of Mugelo.
Yeah, that was a tough lap for Gardner because he could see Fernandez down over the crest towards Sandinato. What happened with Chantra and Dalla Porta a bit further down.
Watch Bezzecchi here light up the rear, spinning it before the lights go out. You know what? So he won't get done for a jump start, but Simon Crafar just saying, yeah, I agree with Simon, making a little visit to the penalty loop area shortly.
Yeah, I was just about to say, what a tough last lap that was for Gardner. I mean, it was half a second quicker as well, and that got Lowe's to within 4/10 of the Australian.
Someone's just getting up to his feet now, so that will have taken the wind out of his sails a bit.
Turn 12, down the hill into Corantayo.
On the corner before Corantayo, and oh no, that was elsewhere. That was up ahead again on board with Joe Roberts, so that's another place. 3 DNFs in 6 already then for Xavi Vierge. Toto Wolff, the Mercedes, more than capable hands of the British legend Lewis Hamilton. That's about as calm as you'll see Toto Wolff. No Italian. No one has anything for Raul Fernandez though at the moment. What an incredible MotoGP rider for 2022.
Well, Gardner's responding, and all credit to him, because on the last lap he did his personal best lap of the race of 51 for the very first time, and though Gardner was digging deep to get that PB lap in as well, he was slightly slower.
Slightly so. Debris in the middle of the final turn there, that was a bit off-putting.
Some bodywork or something was.
Split the top 3, or 4 in fact. The Gian Antonio as well joining in the party, all of them 51.7s on that last lap.
3 men, that was Arbolino going in hot, going in real hot, and that means he's going to have to do all the hard work again to recover that. Not deliberately, of course, he had to work his way through on the likes of Tony Arbolino early on, but 1.5 seconds back to Sam.
Another 10th or so made up on the tail of Remy Gardner. Lowe's knows what the championship looks like after 10 of these boys.
Yeah, I think he knows as well though, Steve, he's got the finish.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he hasn't got the pace of Fernandez, which at the moment in just his 6th Grand Prix, frustration, abject frustration and dejection on the other side of the Elf Mark VDS. Interesting start, wasn't it, for Fernandez? A 6th place in Doha, followed up by a 5th in Portugal, and then he was in the podium place in both Le Mans and
51.3 from Fernandez out front. Raul, that is, we're talking about now, and his gap at the front.
Fernandez just makes it look so ridiculously easy. We know it's not. This is the cream of the crop, the very best men.
Looking elsewhere, further back, Gian Antonio still 4th ahead of the 2 Italians, Bezzecchi and Arbolino. Roberts 7th, and it's Schrotter having a great ride at the moment. He's faster than 2 or 3 riders ahead of him as well, the Malaysian, on the NTS RW race.
The Malaysian. Bo Benchnider had a poor lap on that last lap. He let Gartho, Bobier and Canet and Siren come.
Breaking down then into Corantayo. Sam Lowe's looks like in half of this lap, he's still more than half a race to go here. Sounded like that was spinning up a bit, didn't it, for Sam Lowe's on the onboard there.
Gian Antonio has got nothing at the moment for the 2 men directly ahead of him. Lowe's and Gardner, he's losing 2 or 3 tenths. So it's a little bit unsettled, but he looks like he should be able to make it stick. No, he just runs in that fraction wide, and on the cutback, good battle is going on between Gardner and Lowe's, but while this is engaging, this is just giving Fernandez a bit more breathing space at the front.
Next, and you're right, Matt, This is all just allowing Raul Fernandez to disappear.
This is brilliant for Fernandez and brilliant for Gianantonio, because in the blink of an eye, that little melee there between Lowe's and Gardner gave the Gianantonio 6-10
out on circuit. He doesn't get hot-headed. He might be wise just to see what Sam's got here, because he was not catching Rams anyway. 1.8 seconds Raul Fernandez has now over Sam Lowe's, who's up to second ahead of Gardner.
In fact, he does not look like a Moto2 novice. He's not a World Championship novice, of course, but he's not got a lot of experience. Powerful Triumph 765cc motor. And again, he's 4/10 of a second faster on that last circuit.
The Aussie Remy Gardner, who would lose his championship lead. He'd be 8 points down on his teammate Fernandez if things stay the way they...
Lowe's and Gardner engaged on that last lap helped Gianantonio. He was 4/10 quicker than Lowe's and 6/10 faster than Gardner.
And Marcel Schrotter, he's just gone ahead of his teammate Arbolino as we look here at the crew chief of Sam Lowe's, Gilles Bigot. Schrotter's actually lapping as quick as...
Flying on pole position here back in 2019, a front row, I think the year before, when he crashed out on the very first lap. 6th place last time.
Hang on to that seat, is going to need to find some big results over the next few Grand Prix.
And there is the gap progression. Of course, the battle that was raging between these two men, Lowe's and Gardner, and it looks like Sam Lowe's with that clear track in front. Of course, Gardner was within 1.5, but already he's nearly 4/10 back of Lowe's.
It's around this time, did just struggle. Turn and a twist when we get to about 3/4 stage.
Yeah, of course, it was in Jerez when he was on the podium. Moto3 bikes, Fernandez jumped off at the end of 2020. They're certainly more heavier. And around a circuit like Mugelo, where there's a lot, Sam Lowe's has picked up already a couple of tenths. 1.5 seconds over the line in the first 2 sectors already down.
Moto2 race in Mugello, you can see visibly that gap has come down. It has. It's a second. It's another 3/10 made up in second for the Moto3 world champion.
Yeah, he'll be hoping. Somebody else has gone down as well.
It's not one of the top 3. They're on screen. The World Championship, that's a costly crash for Fabio Gianantonio, who's MotoGP banned.
Front end just washing out from underneath him. Not a good day for the Gresini camp, unfortunately. Nicolo Buliga didn't start the Grand Prix after...
Gianantonio out. It's a 52.2. Raul Fernandez isn't able to maintain the pace he started the race with, whereas Sam Lowe's and Gardner now are closing in. With 9 laps to go on Raul Fernandez, it's 9/10 the difference.
This leader right now, they drop down into turn 10 on lap number 13. All of a sudden, Raul Fernandez...
Perhaps struggling a bit with the pain of the crash from earlier on. Bezzecchi here, 4th place. Sounds all too familiar to guys consistently enough at the front of races. And it's the same tail here in Mugello. He's 5.6 down now on Gardner. That's the best we've seen of Jake so far this weekend. He's up ahead of Canet and Ben Snyder. And a shout out to Fermin Aldiger as well. Points in his first ever Grand Prix.
Yeah, brilliant performance. Another star of the future rolling out of Spain. Roberts was almost half a second quicker than the Italian. How's that gap between Fernandez and Lowe's? It's just hovering on the gap between that pair to around sort of 8, 9, 10 bike lengths. Yes, we're in 3.
Tale he wanted to tell on Sunday here in Italy. So often in the past, the Gianantonio has had a lot of Gresini team in Moto2.
So Raul Fernandez is trying to respond here as his 14th lap. 7 and a bit laps remaining. Because already in the first 3 sectors on this lap, Roberts has picked up half a second. So it's going to be...
He's got 1.3 seconds to bridge though to Roberts. He's just ahead of his teammate. The gap at the front then is 7/10. Here is that battle that Matt was talking about, but the American then moves up into 4th place.
Yeah, there was nothing in it. It wasn't really a contest. Robert, as Steve mentioned, you can't discount Marcel Schrotter here from also getting on par with the 2 men ahead of him, Roberts and Bezzecchi.
And a couple of them have gone begging. 4th will do. He's not going to catch the 3 ahead now.
Right behind Bezzecchi, wasn't it? Early on in the French Grand Prix. Corsi then, confirmation of what Steve told us. He has retired. Was it mechanical or...
On board here with Marco Bezzecchi, with Joe Roberts on the Italtrans machine.
Sky VR46 team, not what they were anticipating coming in to their home Grand Prix. Celestino Vietti as well, his struggles goes.
Across the line for Raul Fernandez though, up ahead. He's 7/10 clear, race leader.
Yeah, well, these guys are not going to get a podium unless something happens to Fernandez, Lowe's and Gardner ahead of them. Roberts is almost 7, particularly in his team's home Grand Prix as well. The Italtrans Racing squad will be pretty happy with this performance if he carries it on through.
Awesome points between Gartho, Bobier, Dixon, Canet, Manzi, Aldiger and Bo Ben Snyder.
There's Sam Lowes.
Sam Lowes has crashed, chasing down Raul Fernandez.
That is held the go as well, his crew chief.
And that's hurt pride. That is not a hurt rider. He knows how crew in the World Championship.
What a gift for the Red Bull KTM IO pairing of Raul Fernandez. And has given a present to the Californian down into Arrabbiata 1. And he's just going to tuck the front as well through the gravel trap. But this is a major, major blow for the Brits World title hopes. As Steve mentioned, 3 DNFs in here in Mugello.
He's going to be thoroughly miffed and annoyed with himself there. In 0.8 of a second of Raul Fernandez. Fernandez was responding and just making that task all the tough. 1-2 in the Moto2 World Championship. Third then for Joe Roberts. On the brink now again.
It was a very forlorn and sad Sam Lowes on the back of the scooter coming back to the paddock. That's a nightmare for him in the water. It's gone horribly wrong since then for Sam Lowes. The first mission was just to finish. Unfortunately, absolutely supreme, imperious. But yet again, he's on course for what Lowes did in Qatar. Back-to-back wins from
to go. You'd think this should be in the bag for Raul Fernandez, but the gap is 9.
Zeki to try and get back on tabs and on terms with Joe Roberts. They're just getting a message there to Raul Fernandez, fuming with himself. Despondent Sam Lowes.
He looks very sad there. I think that has hit a hiccup.
Sky VR46 boss Pablo Nieto hanging off the pit wall, encouraging his man. First you must finish, and Sam Lowes has not been able to do that here today in Mugello, and that's why Marco Bezzecchi still has a great chance of a
8th. Further back, Sarin 10th. Ahead of Bobier, Dixon, Manzi, Canet and Aldiger on for some points. Another 10th, 8 tenths now between number 25, Raul Fernandez, and number 87, Remy Gardner, who you just know at the front.
Game on from Gardner. This is brilliant. He knows as well, if he can get through on his teammate, he retains here.
Spare a thought here at this moment for Aki Aiho. Yes, at the moment, it looks like another 1-2.
For Fernandez when he faded late on in Spain. We thought it was tyres, it was arm pump. What are his issues at the moment?
Has made a move. He is on the podium at home as it stands, but our eyes are fixed on this battle between the two teammates. Remy
he was over 2 seconds back of Fernandez, and now he's swarming all over the rear tyre of his teammate. No question.
Yeah, it looks like he's got more grip. What a ride this was from Remy Gardner. Then within 1/10 of a second now of his teammate. Oh, Ramirez has crashed out of a top 10 finish. Disaster for the Spanish.
One of the better rides for the NTS chassis. Here we go, back at the front though. And it's Red Bull KTMI over that. Are we about to see an Australian success in Moto2 as well? 2 laps to go. Fernandez leads by just over.
Through turn 1, San Donato. This is raging on. You know that Roberts will throw the kitchen sink at this, and it's a home race for Bezzecchi as well.
Trans Racing team. So they'll be desperate to see their man on the podium. Fernandez still keeping.
Then down the hill through Cefelli. Can he get close enough on the start-finish straight to get into the slipstream of his...
Which is coming big time behind him from his teammate Remy Gardner, and again through Arrabbiata 2. It's the edge grip, particularly on the right.
Does he make his move? Is it going to be into Correntayo here? The right-handed hairpin on board here? No. Fernandez for now holds on.
Breaks into Bacchini, line up a slipstream move on Fernandez down the start-finish straight. Again, you can just see Gardner.
Okay for Raul Fernandez. We're about to start the final lap here in Moto2. Which one of these boys is taking top spot? Raul.
5.2 kilometres then to decide the outcome of this thrilling Italian Moto2 Grand Prix here in Mugello. Fernandez.
Gardner stronger in the final 2 sectors than Raul Fernandez. Does he bide his time until then to try and make his move
on that downhill drop through Casanova and Savelli to potentially line up a move at the lowest point of the circuit into Arrabbiata
for the win that we want to look at? Gardner then, here he comes into Arrabbiata 1.
And this is where he's been brilliant. This is where he's had the better. Down the hill into turn 10, and he's made that move. That was all about the drive and the edge grip and acceleration out of turn 9.
Here of extending his championship lead with his first win of the year.
3 corners left then for Remy Gardner. Biondetti 1 and 2. Candez run out of grip. Gardner runs that tight defensive inside line through Baccini. It's going to be about the drag race to the.
Fernandez is in the slipstream, but there's not enough time, is there? Oh, it was close, but Gardner takes it.
That of a second. It's 100th between Roberts, who does take 3rd place. 2 outstanding finishes for the victory.
Look at this lot here for some big points, and look at the riders in the group. Cyrene here, also Aldeguer 12th, the 16-year-old, incredible from him, ahead of Gartho, Dixon and Bo.
5 laps, how much he was quicker than Fernandez, particularly through Arrabbiata 1 and Arrabbiata 2. That's where he made the move. Remy Gardner is a race winner in 2021. Let's pop down to pit lane and speak to, I'm sure, a delighted.
Now we're just moving, sorry, so you can hear us pit. What a ride from both your KTM riders.
It was a very impressive race from both of them, because you see many Moto2 races where everything stays so close together. I think he took care of the tires really good, and he had something in his pocket for the end, and how he prepared that.
Big congratulations and thank you.
Great words from Pit Byra. There's going to be some celebrations for those guys. Bo Roberts has been demoted, a place for exceeding track limits on the final lap. We saw that in Moto3 earlier.
No gap between Gardner and Fernandez at the checkered flag. I make this the 9th closest finish in intermediate world. Franco Morbidelli at Phillip Island in 2016. That's how close it was over the line between Remy Gardner and after Joe Roberts is demoted 1 position for exceeding the track limit on the last lap. It's an automatic second, third, fourth, second, first. Absolutely fantastic consistency from